Hi guys, and welcome to this week's Mindset Mastery Monday. Let me know you can hear me well and let me know how your weekend has been. I hope you've had a good one. So today I'm here to talk to you about the Introverts Guide to Getting Visible Online, even if it fills you with panic, with dread and with major imposter syndrome. As you know, if you've been following me, if you're following me on my social platforms, last week we dropped the episode all about how to start with Facebook Lives, and I was chatting to loads of you about what it feels like to show up online and talk about your gifts, talk about your business, talk about your offers, and I ran a few polls, and a massive, I think it was about 85% of you said that it fills you with dread, it fills you with fear, and it fills you with imposter syndrome. So today I really wanted to look at this because getting visible online is so much more of a mindset piece than it is a technical piece. Like, I could teach you in about 20 minutes, if that, how to get everything set up so that you can produce, create, feel confident in your content to deliver a really valuable piece of content for your audience, and all the tech you need and all of that sort of stuff. So if some of you are listening to this and thinking like, oh yeah, but the reason I haven't gone live or I haven't shown up, online more is because I don't have the right stuff, I don't have the right tech, I am not very good at tech, I would really encourage you to just really release that now, because it's just not true. It's the simplest part of getting visible. The truth about what blocks many, many people from getting visible is their mindset. And this is really deep stuff. It's not as simple as just saying, come on, pull your socks up and just crack on with it. It fills people with real emotions that make them want to retreat, make them want to retract, and can really leave people massively doubting every aspect of their business. Because if I don't feel confident enough to show up and talk to people about what I do, should I really be here at all? So let's have a conversation during today's live. Let's really get into the comments and ask me questions. I've allocated a bit of time at the end today to answer any of your questions, because part of my work of really helping people get their business out into the world, share their gifts, and own their space, is to really help this piece. And I've got a lot of experience on it. I've worked with many, many people on it, and I've had a lot of my own personal experience. So if anything comes up as we're going through today's live, I would love you to drop it in the comments and I will come back to it. If not live, then of course in the replay. So why does it really matter? Why does it matter to go live, or why does it matter to show up online? Why is it not just enough to beaver away behind your computer and leave it at that? Well, this is really about understanding that you need to stand for the transformation that you offer. If you feel that you can't stand forward, talk about what you do with confidence, share your message in whichever medium you choose, and know there are tons of other options than Facebook Lives or Instagram Lives, but if you feel that getting visible, stepping up and talking about what you do fills you with dread, is a real problem. Because you could be sitting on the thing that is going to totally transform the lives of those that you wish to serve, but they just don't know it. You're ending up being the best kept secret around, because the mindset, the scripts that are running, all of that stuff is preventing you from really stepping forward and owning your space and sharing your gifts. So this is also bigger than that. It's about feeling empowered in all areas of your life. If you're feeling restricted about sharing your voice, about really sharing what it is that you do, even sharing the ins and outs of what feels good in your business, what doesn't feel good, getting vulnerable, if you feel all the feelings around, am I good enough? Is anyone going to want to listen to me? That's what I hear a lot from my clients. then we can carry those narratives into all areas of our life. This is not just going to be this is not only just going to be playing out when you are thinking about going live. This is going to be playing out in all the ways you show up in the world. Because feeling empowered to step forward and talk about what you do is a piece of feeling that you're worthy, feeling that you own a space in the world, feeling that you deserve to be seen and you deserve to be heard, but also having a detachment from what comes back. So very often, and let me know in the comments if any of these mindsets resonate or any of these things have gone through your mind just before you've pressed live or even just before you've put out a Facebook post. I ran an event last week called the Sacred Circle, which is my invite-only, super intimate, really powerful transformational event where we do all the deep work. And one of my private clients was there and she said to me, this week I hit send on the most vulnerable post I've ever sent. So if you're someone that is churning out content easily, like just writing sort of how-tos and looking at what everyone else is doing and sort of creating a similar post to them and just sounding all markety as you post, and you're never feeling that sort of gut-wrenching like, oh my goodness, I'm going to press post now, then I would really question all this stuff around your visibility, all this stuff around you being fully seen for the person that you're here to be. Now, this sounds really deep, and those of you that have been following me for a while know that I cannot separate the personal with the business because they go hand in hand. The personal self-mastery energy piece must come first, hence why so many people are struggling to show up and share their voice, even if they have all of the qualifications. I've had people like, well, I've worked in marketing and PR my whole life, but they still struggle because this time it's about them. It's no longer about someone else or another brand or another story, which interestingly we often find a lot easier. So another reason why I wanted to bring this to you today is because we are week 3 in the Wellness Entrepreneur Academy now. And last week, some of the collective in there did some live videos in our private group and really started to, we're releasing things at the moment, we're releasing narratives, really started to talk to this idea of being labelled as shy and how much that was holding her back in her business. She was telling us, it's not my place to tell her full story, but she was telling us pieces of her story where times in her life she'd been told that her voice wasn't really important. That was really what it came down to. And then no one would really listen to her. So obviously it's something that was built into her. She was running narratives, running expectations of how she needed to behave. And then she comes across wanting to run her own business and everyone's telling her, you've got to get out there, you've got to meet people, you've got to talk about what you do, you've got to, use those social media platforms to really communicate your message and the transformation. And obviously, if you've grown up being told that your voice isn't important, how fucking scary is it when you come to doing this to an unknown audience? Like, you have no idea who's going to be watching. So this is one of the reasons it came up, and it then made me realise, because of my story, which I'm going to share with you a little bit in a minute, I attract clients who at some point in their life have been labelled as shy. It happens so often. I think in that thread of the live video that I'm talking about in our private group, nearly everyone was like, me too. I've been the shy one. And it triggers me now, I'll be really honest. It makes me angry, that label. It really, I feel it's so restrictive. It's so limiting. And yes, of course, everything has two sides. And there's so many endearing qualities to the person that is labelled as shy. But it's massively limiting, and it's really bringing someone up in this box where they feel that even if they want to speak out, like the ripple that that's going to have on the world around them, because the expectation they have on them is to be quiet and conforming and not too disruptive and probably won't say very much. All of those things, the way that your teachers expected you to behave, the way that your parents expected you to behave, all of that I just feel like it's such a restrictive label. So that got me thinking, I'm quite a deep person, why do I attract many people that at some point in their journey have been labelled as shy or introverted? And I thought it was sort of obvious, because that was me. That was me. I was the shyest person ever. And a lot of people aren't shy when they're children, because, we have that sort of wild abandon when we're children. We have that, we don't really, we're not been conditioned yet. But I always was. I had a difficult sort of big start to my life, and as a result, I think I shut down a lot, and I was really scared of life. I was really fearful. I always have this image of my mum. I'm a parent, and if my daughter now wants to go and do anything, she'll be like, "Mum, can I just go over the road by myself?" And I'm like, "No, danger." But she would do it. She'd do it in a heartbeat. But I remember, probably far too an age at which I'm probably too embarrassed to admit, my mum saying to me, "Look, go walk down to the corner shop. This is a 2-minute walk, right?" And she could see me the entire way, and I just couldn't do it. I remember the thoughts going through my mind. I was petrified someone would speak to me, and I would have to speak to them, and I wouldn't know what to say. I was petrified something would happen to me and I might have to ask for help. And just the thought of even having to the stranger danger thing, and it was just shout. I didn't shout. I couldn't shout if my life was in danger. It just wasn't who I was. And then I'd be then I have to go into the shop, and then I'll have to speak to the shopkeeper. And, and it was just a minefield. And I remember that, and it was always in me. And then I would always be the shy one. So before people would introduce me to their friends, or my family would introduce me to family friends, or even my partners, when I got older, would introduce me to their friends, it would be this pre-warning. She's quite shy. She's quite shy. It's not that she doesn't like you. It's not that she doesn't find you interesting. It's not that she's not interesting. She's just quite shy. And it would be like a warm-up. And I'd have to enter into this stage where everyone would expect me to be a bit weird, a bit quiet. I'd easily be fearful that I'd get labelled as boring. And then I would work myself up, because I wouldn't want to put myself in positions where people could come to me and say something, because I would just be I'm the one that doesn't say anything. So I was making it worse all the time. Now, I can't tell you the moment that changed. I think it was would definitely have been part of my self-development. 100% it would have been my business. But I've shared this story on many other things, so I won't go into it too much now. But I remember thinking that when I owned an in-person spa, when I had the keys to a brick-and-mortar business, and I could say, "Hey, look, that's mine," that I would finally be able to stand in front of my business and speak about my business and be proud of it and say, "Look what I've created." But it never happened. I felt even more embarrassed, because I suddenly was everyone's going to think someone's bought that for her. Everyone's going to think, "Oh, that's really sweet. She's got a salon." All of these things. And none of it was true. This is the point of today. None of this was true. It was all in my head. I was loading that shy story over and over and over again. And I think through real self-awareness, and then putting all the things that I practice into my life, all the tools I have, many of my wellness tools, and then starting to stand for the transformation. So really starting to plug in, why am I here? What am I doing here? What do I really want to achieve here? And it's I've just got to start rewriting my story. So then fast forward to, I think it's about a year ago or 2 years ago, we had some new neighbours move in. And my husband had spoke to them before I had, and I'd seen them in passing. But as I said, 3 children, most of the time when I'm leaving my house to get in the car with the kids, I'm just this herding sheep, I don't want someone to get cut up on the road. So I'm just getting everyone in, I'm blinkered. And apparently at some point, the lady next door had come out of her house, and I hadn't acknowledged her, likely hadn't seen her. Well, I definitely hadn't seen her. Anyway, she spoke to my husband and said, oh, I don't think your wife likes me, because she saw me and she didn't say hello. And guess what my husband said? He said, I'm sure it's not that. She's just quite shy. Oh my God, when he told me that, like, I couldn't care less about that situation. I was just like, wow. And it triggered me beyond belief. And that's because I worked so damn hard to release myself from that shy label. And obviously, again, it had nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with me. And it just made me realise how big a thing this is for me, and how committed I am to really help people release this label. Because for my own life, it stifled me for a very, very, very long time. And there are still times when it crops up in my life now. So, today I just wanted to share 5 powerful steps with you that if you are someone that feels you've ever struggled with that introvert label, with that shy label, if you're someone that just gets all the feels when you start thinking about getting visible in your business and in your life, I really hope that if you try and implement some of these steps, that you're really going to start to see a change. Because I believe that no matter what you know, no matter who you work with, no matter any of those things, until you can stand side by side with your message, until you want to shout about the transformation that you have to offer and the gifts that you have to share from the rooftops, things will just be that much harder for you. So let me know how you get on with these. Tag me in your Insta stories when you've implemented some of these. Jump into my DMs if this resonates with you and you want to talk deeper. And of course, add your comments to the live and we can really start to just really discuss this and get rid of it. So the first step, and I'm going to swear here because I'm passionate, is drop the fucking label. Like, when I wrote this down, it gives me goosebumps. Just drop the fucking label. Stop identifying yourself or anyone else in your life as anything like shy or introvert. I even put the title of this, The Introverts Guide to Getting Visible Online. I hoped it would trigger some of you. I hoped it would trigger some of you to be like, I'm not introverted. And I was like, yes, go you. But I also wanted to call in the people that do identify as that. You know, some of us actually share that message, even if it doesn't feel like it was fully fitting. So the person I'm talking about in the Wellness Entrepreneur Academy who did the live around being shy, she said, I never really felt shy. I never really identified with that, but I'd heard it so many times along with my voice that I just started to embody it. So the first step is to, from this point on, no longer identify as being introvert, as being shy. Now, some of you might be quite attached to that label and think that it gets you out of situations and you don't really want to release it. This isn't about being the life and soul of the party. This isn't about releasing the introvert label and stepping in to Miss Extrovert that is like life and soul of the party, that speaks up at every single occasion. This is about understanding that you're liberating yourself from any sort of label and that you are embracing the exact person that you were always designed to be. If that means you are slightly more quiet than Joe Blogs next door, or your mate that you go out with, or your business colleague, that's who you are. That's fine. Being visible, being comfortable with being visible, has nothing to do with how flamboyant you are, and everything to do with how much you love yourself, how empowered you are, and how comfortable you are with absolutely every aspect of you. Now, as you start to embrace that, you may over the years, and I think that's probably what happened with me, is that you do start to come out of your shell. But this comes from a real place of not giving a fuck, not caring what other people think of you. If you're the person in the group that's the quietest, why is that a problem? If you're the person in the group that wants to go home early or would rather stay in than go out, what is wrong with that? So it's really owning everything that is you and starting to stand in that without the label. You don't have to define it. Because as soon as you attach a label to yourself, or someone else does, it ripples out into every other aspect of your life. Some of you may find that in some situations, you'd like to be more loud and more bubbly and more out there, and in some, you prefer to be more, quiet and observing and all of that stuff. And this gives you permission to shapeshift, be who you want to be in the situations you want to be them in. So you may find that sometimes you show up and you're really bright and you're really loud, and sometimes you show up and you're more subdued and more quiet. But you'll start to see these as massive strengths, not weaknesses. You're not trying to be like her. You're not trying to be like them. You're trying and stepping fully into who you are. Now, I also just want to say about this is that when you release the label, when you release to fully identify as any of these things and come forward and get visible from a place of you-ness, you start to call in those people that really start to attract that. So you start to really connect with the people you were meant to serve. If you try and show up as a version of you, as the extrovert version of you, as the person that has it all together but inside is dying, you will send mixed messages. So you may call in the wrong people, but also you may not call in anyone, because that clarity of message is really confusing. Now, I'd love for you to take a few minutes after this live to just journal out all the people that you find inspiring. A client of mine I worked with recently, someone she finds really inspiring, is a photographer. And on her social media, on all of her visibility platforms, you never see her. You never really see her. You see her pictures, you see her words. She's becoming visible in ways that don't mean she needs to be front of camera. And this is really endearing to my client because that's what my client's like. And so she gets a lot of inspiration from that. Now, had this person forced herself to get in front of camera and be all the things everyone else seems to be, she may have lost my client, because my client looks for someone that that is blazing the trail, that is leading by example, that is standing in that place of power that she can connect with, that is relatable. So it's really important to release this idea that it's just a one-size-fits-all. You have to do the work to find your way of being visible and release those labels, and really start to notice as well where those labels are projected onto you. Now, the second step here is really to look at underneath that, so underneath the expectation, what are you really afraid of? So when we talk about getting visible, especially when we're thinking of showing up on a live stream, sharing our voice, sharing a message, we can have all those fear-based feelings. So, you know what it's like. You get jittery, you get nervous, you get sweaty, you get your breathing increases, you get knots in your stomach, you just have all of those immediate responses that tell you, the fight or flight, like, get the fuck out of here, why are you here? Now, what I would love you to do is sit with those emotions to really uncover what it is about. What is going on there? What are you so afraid of? Is it rejection? Is it judgment? Is it isolation? So really start to look. This is what I've been really reflecting on. Like, when I was so afraid to speak up, when I was so afraid to go to parties, when I was so afraid to walk into that corner shop, what was it I was afraid of? And for me, a big issue has always been rejection. That's what I was afraid of. I was afraid of being rejected. I was afraid of not being good enough. I was afraid that I would be judged. I was afraid that they would think I was odd. I just wanted to fit in. Now, come full circle, that's the last thing I want. If anyone said she was like anyone else, I'd hate that. So it's really starting to understand that those fears that you feel, really look into them, because that will tell you a lot. It will tell you a lot of the work that you need to release. But then also start to step forward and realise that those people that reject you, those people that judge you, those people that say she's not for me, that is a really powerful way to filter out the people you are just not here for. And that means you get the opportunity to get laser focused with those you are here to serve. It acts as a filter system. It's so, so powerful. So then when you know who you are for, the ones that do stay on the lives, the ones that do comment, the ones that do follow up with you, the ones that do send you, email back to you and say, thank you so much for that email today, it was just what I wanted to hear. Then you can commit to building relationships with them, because those are your people. The people that didn't like what you did, or passed judgment, or said that's not for me, that also gives them an opportunity. Because they're not wasting time anymore on your content, they can go and find the people that are for them. So all those feelings are not feelings to tell you, like, who are you, get out of this arena, this isn't your place. These are opportunities to say, I'm going to feel into this. I'm going to talk to this. I'm going to explore this. I'm going to realise that if any of those things come my way, they can't touch me. They are simply opportunities for refinement, both for me and those that I serve. Now, the third thing I want to really start to look into, and I'm going to be talking about a lot more with this because I'm getting a course together that talks a lot about this. Befriend the feeling of discomfort. I've written here, disrupt, disrupt, disrupt. Do not leave the only time you do something different in your life to be the first time you go onto a live stream. If you've been living in squishy, fluffy, happy land for 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, doing the same thing every day, predictability, routines, knowing sort of how things are going to pan out, and then one day you say, right, I'm going to go live now, and you wonder why you are filling with dread, do not be that person. Disrupt yourself on a daily basis. When I've really studied all the people I've studied, those people that I've worked with, those people that I really admire, the people that are really making massive impact in the world, one thing I've identified that every single person of those people do, they disrupt themselves on a daily basis, actively disrupt themselves. Which means it can be small things. Maybe they just go a different way home. Maybe they cook themselves a different breakfast. You know how many of us are just stuck in our ways? Maybe they answer a question in a different way. Maybe they do something unexpected. Maybe they cross the street and tell someone how amazing they look. Maybe they pick the phone up and make an awkward, they have a conversation with someone they've fallen out with. They daily disrupt themselves so that the feeling of discomfort is no longer an indication to stop, but rather an indication that you're growing. But I can't emphasize how important this is. I do things every single day to disrupt my life. Those of you that know me, like, yeah, okay, Kirsty, you do that to the extreme. But I do, because I don't want an easy life. If my life is too easy, if my life is too, coasting, then so am I. So in order to really be able to get comfortable with your visibility, you need to get comfortable with shaking things up so that when you're about to hit live and you feel that feeling, that's an indication that something exciting is about to happen, not that something petrifying is about to happen, and that you've practiced that retreat. So the fourth step is really then tune into who are you doing this for. I'm going to be brutal and say that your fear around visibility is because you're thinking far too much about yourself. We are tuning in far too much to our needs. We're thinking this feels uncomfortable for me. I'm worried about what people will think of me, rather than really connecting to who are you doing this for. Being intentional with your content, not just chucking anything out there, building relationships with your audience, understanding what it is that they need, and then delivering on that, gets rid of all this stuff around visibility and feeling the panic, because you're starting to zoom out and understand that if you don't show up and talk to this problem or identify how you can help, then those people you're committed to serve are that much further away from resolving that solution for that problem and having the solution that they want. So I'd encourage you, those few moments before you create a piece of content or you go live, that you really commit to who you're doing this for. This is about plugging into your why. I put a quote up this morning on Insta Stories, which was, if you lose your way, it's because you've lost your why. I get my clients to every day plug back into the varying levels of why that we work on. Why are you doing what you're doing? We all have down days. We all have moments where we doubt ourselves. We all lack confidence sometimes. But those people that keep showing up, that keep sharing their message, are plugged in to their why far more than they are to their own self-doubt. And when you keep showing up for the why, the natural response with that is you empower yourself. You realise you can go above and beyond. You realise you can push through discomfort. And you realise that you actually quite like it. That what everyone's been saying about the idea that on the other side of fear is the transformation is really true. So this one is so, so important. Who are you doing this for? And then the final step is a practical one. Do the pre-work. So as I said, don't allow the first time you do a Facebook Live or you do an Instagram Live or you do something, you step out on stage and give a keynote speech or you, go and do an interview on someone's podcast to be the first time you've ever done one of those things. Make sure you are practicing. Make sure you are getting out there and you're doing it in ways that you can craft your art and really start to look at how you could do better. So a great way to do this is create yourself your own private Facebook group that no one knows about, it's totally secret, and the only person in there is you and maybe one other accountability buddy. Someone that you can bear all to, that you've got none of those insecurities with, and practice. See what the set looks like, see what the sound quality's like, put your mind at ease so you haven't got those sort of things to worry about. Start to look at the things you do, look at where you're looking at the camera, really start to practice it. And then get into some future rehearsing. So if you're someone that needs to do regular public speaking and that just fills you with dread, start to visualize how is it going to feel when you nail it? What's it really going to do to the audience to have those tools, to have those gifts and skills that you've just shared? Really start to put the pre-work in. Now the other part of the pre-work is to co-create with your audience. So remove the doubt, remove the does anyone really want to hear this by actually getting on the ground and speaking to those that you serve. I can't tell you how many people are lazy in their content creation because they sit there and they allow an idea to land without really exploring it. We have so many tools, especially on Instagram with polls and where you can get into real conversation with your audience. Ask them what sorts of topics would really help serve them. Find out what you could be doing, how you could be creating, where you could be showing up that could offer them massive value. Ask them what these sort of events in your space are that they love to attend and see how you can potentially contribute to those. And then ensure you are around expanders. So I've talked a little bit about this last week. People will either rise to meet you or they will fall away. So getting really honest with yourself. How many people in your circle are calling you up to rise, are holding you in that expanded version of you, or are saying, yeah, you know what, like maybe don't do that now if it feels a bit funny, maybe don't, and maybe just keep small, maybe just, keep it safe and easy. You don't want to take that sort of risk. Really ensure that you are surrounded by expanders. Now, you may be blessed enough to have an amazing group of friends who are your expanders, who are constantly, helping you push forward, seeing the greatest version of you. But if that isn't you, then you may need to get into courses, into programs, into groups where those people hang out. Like, it blows my mind in the Wellness Entrepreneur Academy, in our community, if someone's in there sharing something, everyone else is straight into the comments and showing them incredible support without me needing to do anything. Obviously, then I come in and give my support. But my point is, if you meet people at that place, if you show up and say, I'm here because I'm committed to a vision, but I really need my team of cheerleaders, I really need people to stand and support me, they will meet you. But if you are standing there feeling sorry for yourself, feeling like the only people around you are keeping you stuck, you need to shift it up. You need to disrupt. And for someone that's identified as an introvert or shy at any time in their life, that could be really fucking scary. I know it. I really know it. I still have it now. I still avoid sort of in-person networking and stuff like that. I still feel that old narrative, that little me going like, oh my God, but what if we say something wrong? What if we don't fit in? But I keep overriding it. And what blows my mind is when I show up, people show up to meet me. And it's just huge. So just to go over those points again, drop the label. From this point on, refuse to identify as an introvert or as someone that's shy, even if there's a part of that label that you want to hold on to, because it allows you to stay comfortable or it allows you to lower expectations. Release it, because it is keeping you stuck. That does not mean that you are not allowed to be the observer, the one that's slightly more quiet, but it means that you can own that, because that's who you are. It's no longer a problem. It's no longer something that you're trying to overcome, because you're owning all of who you are. The second step is to really dig into what you're afraid of. Is it rejection? Is it judgment? Is it isolation? And then really getting clear that this gives you an opportunity to filter out the people that you're not here for, and gives them the opportunity to go find someone else. Then befriend the feeling of discomfort. Disrupt, disrupt, disrupt. Do not let the first time you disrupt yourself be when you press live. Make sure you're disrupting your life purposefully on a daily basis, doing things that internal dialogue goes, oh, really? Really? We're doing that right now? Really? I always talk about my dance parties in my car. Love putting music on in the car. And more recently, when I'm stopping in front of like a bus stop or something, I would normally stop dancing because I felt self-conscious. And I made myself do it. I thought, sod it. What if they think that I've lost it? Who really cares? But it's stretching my disruption and stretching my comfort zones. Then it's about who you're doing this for. This isn't about you. This is about who you serve. This is about showing up for those people that you are committed to serving. This is about their problems, their needs, and sharing the things that will really help resolve that. And then finally, do the pre-work. Practice, practice, practice. Use things like Facebook groups. Set a private one up where it's just you in there, and maybe an accountability buddy so you can get some input. Really do your practice. Co-create with your audience. Get in there. Ask them, what would you like me to share information on? What you are assuming is not always going to be right. And make sure around expanders. People that don't let you pay small. People that see that full potential and will continue to call you to rise whilst sharing so much love for the process. This is an ever unfolding process, guys. You're not going to get to a point where you've eliminated any discomfort at all around this feeling. So make sure that you get comfortable with leaning into that and knowing that it's a sign of growth and expansion, as much as it's a sign for you to just cut and run. And I just wanted to show you this. I always do a 3-card spread for myself in the morning. And when I'd mapped this out, I did my card spread and I got don't dim to fit in. And I just think this is so powerful for what we've been talking about today. This is about, you don't want to blend in. Your message and your gifts are too important for that. You need to be seen in your full, most colourful version of you, whether that's being quiet, whether that's being like observing the world, or whether that is, jumping on tables, being the life and soul of party. You do you. This is really an important message because you're blazing a trail for those that you support and you serve, and giving the world permission to do the same, which is just so, so, so important. Right, that is all from me today, guys. I'm going to crack on with my Monday. We've got lots of exciting things planned. I know loads of you have reached out to me about the Chakra Activation Retreat that's happening in October in Ibiza. We will be working through the 7 energy centres over the 5 days, using so many different modalities to start to activate different centres. One of those definitely being the solar plexus and the throat, which is all about visibility. So whether you're in business or not, and you just want to really start working on that piece of starting to get comfortable in your own skin, then you've got to come and join us. It's going to be incredible. We've got an early bird price on at the moment, which is like a no-brainer, with a payment plan stretched out until October, so you can spread it out, but that ends at the end of February. So if you have any questions, we're only taking 8 people with us. Come and reach out to me because I would love to see you there. But for now, guys, have a magical week, and I'm sure you will see me around and about your screens during the week. So much love, guys. Take care. Bye.